call the meeting to order, and before we go too far, we've sort of started to introduce ourselves, but let's do this officially on the record.
Okay.
And I'm Gene Case, I'm chair at the moment, and
you will.
I've been on the finance committee since the 80s, sometime in the 80s, that's all I know. And I'm retired. I was an educator, and I enjoy retirement very much. So, Katie, I know.
Katie is there.
Yep.
Just joined. I don't know if you how much
Well,
you want to know about that.
You're from Byfield.
I'm from Byfield. Yeah, I grew up here. My family's from here. First settlers at Newbury, all of that.
Yeah.
Went to Governor Dummer.
Yeah.
Went to BU, and now work for Fidelity. So.
And I think I had your mother in school.
Linda Allen.
Yeah.
I lived in Byfield for 46 years. My husband and I started a business in 1979, and I still run that business here in Byfield.
Security, right?
Security business, yeah.
Home or?
Bird fire, video.
Yeah.
Done that most of my life.
Jen, you can introduce yourself.
Jennifer Goodwin, recording secretary.
Yeah.
I don't live in town.
No.
You work here?
I work here.
Okay. Marshall Jesperson, I've been here since '75.
Yeah.
And been on this committee since '08. So, and came to this from what was supposedly retirement. Didn't turn out that way. But anyway, it's been a great experience for me working with the people in this committee. It's just been terrific.
Thank you. Joe, why don't you introduce yourself?
Joseph Alley, recently retired from the healthcare industry. Spent about 5 or 6 years as the chief operating officer for a small privately held company. We roughly ran a $15 to $20 million business. Prior to that, I spent about 25 years on Wall Street, the equity side of capital markets, risk management, trading, and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Thank you.
I'm Paul Myatt. I'm going to my third year on the FinCom, and only 10 years in Byfield, so I'm one of the Johnny-come-latelys ruining the place. But yeah, I live here. Yeah, so I live here in town. Got a couple of kids going through the school system. And, also an educator.
I'm Tracy Blaze. I'm serving currently as the town administrator for the town. I've been here since 2011. Time flies.
It does. You're having fun.
Right.
Good.
Right.
Is
Okay.
that what it's called?
All right, thank you. Hopefully, after the meeting is over, Joe will still feel like he wants to be a part of this group. So, we do need to do some appointments, sort of a little reorganization. Erica's not obviously with us as co-chair. I'm conceding that I would continue as chair if that works out okay, at least for the time being.
Excuse me, Gene, what's the co-chair's name?
Oh,
Nobody,
not
we
there
don't
yet.
have one yet.
Not there yet, but I will say
She-
that our
she
most,
left the committee.
I talked to our most senior member other than myself. And he's said he's very willing to serve as what we call co-chair. Marshall is willing to take on that responsibility if there's consensus around that and around chair. Any other? You're not going to object, are you?
No, I'm not going to.
Okay. You know,
Well,
just the consensus will do for now, if that works for everybody. Okay, we do have 2 appointments to make, capital planning. Marshall, you serve on that, right?
I serve on the chair of capital planning, have been for the past 2 years. We've got a fair amount of important work coming down the pike, and things to do. I was going to stay on in that position. And then we need one other person
Right.
to be on that committee. We have, the committee sits with 4 people, so we have to really drive consensus to get anything done. But generally, we've done it.
Yeah.
It's good. It is a group that meets. We meet for the convenience of the members. We had been meeting at 7 in the morning. So,
We used to do that on occasion when we needed to meet and get a vote.
yeah, yeah, we've done that.
So, I think in this one, we have to do an official vote, so Marshall wants to continue, would somebody make a motion to have him appointed to
Make a motion.
capital
that
planning?
Keep Marshall and
Is there
Patrick.
a second?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Now, anyone else interested in participating in capital planning, would like to throw their name in the hat?
Meeting times preclude me from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought.
Me too, because I
Even
have.
that Marshall Howard isn't here.
Well, you know,
Is he?
He's
Tired?
gonna kill me, yes.
actually, but you know what, you mentioned, I mean, he was involved in the police station in Newburyport, the
Oh,
building of
that's
the police
right.
station in Newburyport, so,
Reach out to him.
yeah, let's reach out to him, so we can get that one squared away and see if he's, I think he'd be a good,
Somebody with experience.
and he's up early, and he's retired, so, why don't we see if he's willing to do that? Okay, great. We got one done, Ellen. All right, the minutes, I think everyone should have received copies by
Yes.
email,
We did.
and,
I would make a motion to approve the minutes of June 26th, 2018, as
Yes.
submitted.
I'll second.
okay, and the only people that can vote, what?
We've only got 3.
We've got 3 out of the 4 here. We can make it, we can do it. 3 out of 4 in
Okay.
attendance.
Yep.
Otherwise, we couldn't do it
Right.
at all. The only people who can vote are those who are in attendance at the meeting, and that would be Linda,
Yep.
Paul, and Marshall. So,
Okay.
all in favor of the,
Aye.
Okay.
okay, any opposed? No one's here? Great. All right.
And moving right along, I'd make
Yes.
a motion to approve the minutes of the July 10th meeting, 2018, as submitted.
I'll second.
Oh, wait a minute, you weren't here.
Oh, I wasn't there, I can't make that
Oh,
motion.
You can't make that
I'll
one.
make that motion to accept the minutes for
Okay,
the July 10th meeting.
I will second.
okay. And again, we have 3.
Oh, that's 3 of us, yeah.
Yeah, all those in favor?
Okay.
Opposed, okay. That's taken care of. Good. All right. Town administrators report, this was the bulk of our meeting, so.
I'll be brief.
I saw that look, wow.
Just a couple of things that have been going on this summer.
Mhm.
The Plum Island bathrooms, we have received notification from Senator Tar that, the Senate has passed the $350,000 appropriation for the renovation project. Still has got a ways to go, but things are looking positive. We are working with town council to set a closing date. Initially, we hoped to close in September, but we're gonna need an extension because in all likelihood, we're gonna have to go to the zoning board of appeals for some relief. So that'll take a little bit longer than we had hoped, but still moving along.
Do you
Yep.
anticipate that's gonna cover most of the
Yes.
necessary?
Yeah, we have a member of our DPW who has just gotten his contractor's license, so we expect to do that with, in-house personnel, hopefully over the winter if things align. If we close in time, if we get the design, timely and can move forward
Before
before the
renovations over
snow flies. Really ambitious that we would have it open next season, but certainly the season after that, so.
Is everyone aware where that building is, Joe? Are you aware of the building that
Really?
they're talking about?
I am not.
it's Center Island,
Mhm. Right
and
next to
it's a
Plum Island.
low-level building right next to Plum Island Orchard. And there's a parking lot adjacent to it. That's, the town acquired, or is in the process of acquiring that.
Yeah, we got town
They
meeting
voted
approval.
at town meeting the annual town meeting
Mhm.
to do that.
Also on Plum Island, we have the Olga Way project, which has finally been approved and is on the DPW's list for this fall. That's, for any of you that aren't familiar, Olga Way, the town owns a fairly large parcel of land down there, that has been used for different things over the years, baseball field, parking lots, I'm not sure what else, but it's a very disturbed dune area. Newbury Port's used it for a staging area, I think, when they did the water sewer project as well. So we're gonna kind of delineate it, fence it off. We get a lot of complaints about stuff being put there, and the DPW really could use an area for staging. DPW public safety during storm events, when they're doing work down there, so we're gonna gravel it, fence it off, gate it off, so it will be available for municipal use in the future. We also have the landing project, which is going on, very, very arduous, permitting process. We had to go through DEP, the Army Corps of Engineers, our own Conservation Commission, but finally we're moving forward, so that also will be, we expect it to be completed this fall.
That's, when you say the landing, you're talking about on the whole new
Route 1,
A,
A,
Parker River
Parker River Landing.
Bridge landing.
Right.
That's where we purchased all that stuff a couple of years ago, or not? It's sitting.
I wanna say
3 years ago.
3 years
Prior to
ago,
mine.
3 years ago.
Oh, it's prior to you, okay.
But we also expanded the project
Right.
from just putting,
Yeah.
the precast concrete
Right.
in,
Okay,
to
Which is what's been
redoing all
sitting
the
there.
docks, right,
okay.
right. Roadways, hopefully everyone's noticed, this season, we knocked out Scotland Road, Scotland Heights, Silver Ledge, Old Farm Way, Cottage Road, Adams Lane, Boston Road, and right now Pearson Drive and Wayside are being done. Hopefully by the end of this month, they'll be complete.
Mason Drive or Food Street?
Pearson Drive.
Cause they were
Well,
working.
that's what it's on our map as.
Well, they were working on the end of Food Street today, doing the sewer covers.
Okay.
And the drain right at the end of Food Street, Central and Food.
I don't know about that.
Oh, I heard that.
I'm sure they were, but I'm not sure what they were doing.
Okay, never mind.
I'll find out.
We have been able, in my long memory, able to do more road paving in the last 2 years than we did in the previous 20
Yeah,
Well,
or more.
I agree.
Chairman Jesperson, thank you for that. The Capital Planning Committee
Yep.
has really been tremendous stewards in terms of putting together a plan so that now we buy our DPW equipment through that program instead of using all of our Chapter 90 funds, which is
Yeah.
supposed to be committed for roadways,
Right.
but can legally be spent on equipment, but we don't do that, and it makes
Anymore.
our road dollars go a long way.
Yes.
We've got over 80% of the main roads done,
Mhm.
in, really, this is our third season.
Yeah, but this has been a project for 4 or 5 years.
Really?
The road study.
The road, we
which I
started with
think
the road
Frank
study.
pushed on that, didn't he? Was it, or
Yeah.
you?
Maybe.
Oh. Well, I know Frank was a big road guy.
He supported it.
He was very, very, very supportive.
Actually, Frank and Larry were the two that were pushing
Yeah,
that.
and Tracy was the one that made the contact, but
Yeah.
she had the support of Frank and Larry.
Yes, I did.
And
I
it was
did,
like
which was great.
$30,000 well spent.
Yeah.
What they did was they surveyed every single road in town.
Yeah, we couldn't even
And
get a
gave us
listing
the
of town-owned
priorities
properties
of-
and roads, so.
Because roads, the paving of roads can become very political. And, and it
Takes
was
the
not, this
politics
takes the
right out of it.
politics right out of it. It
Yeah.
just made it clear what
Very, very
roads.
effective.
I never wanted my road repaved, cause it will slow
Yeah.
people down on
Yeah,
my road.
yeah. But anyway, that was,
I asked for, like those
Ditches.
nail things,
Yeah.
they would never put them on.
you would have been the first one to get a flat tire.
No, not me. Oh, no.
Okay.
The public safety project, that's been
Mhm.
kind of on the front burner for quite some time now. The building committee worked with the architect, Context Architecture, Jeff Shaw, and put together all of the programming necessary for the police station needs as well as the town hall needs. Once that was done and the estimated price tag of approximately $14 million was brought to the table, we all kind of had a great big sigh, and then decided, the committee voted that we needed to bring it back to the Board of Selectmen for direction, because clearly that was substantially more than had been approved at town meeting. So we did do, we kind of did things a little bit backwards. For whatever reason, that's the way it happened. Normally you would go through your designer selection, have schematics, put a price tag, and then go to town meeting, but here, people felt like they didn't wanna commit $1 million to design work if they didn't already have an approval in hand. So we did it a little bit backwards, and I think, you know, everyone was very well intentioned, and the estimates were what the estimates were, but they weren't good. So, we went back to the Board of Selectmen last Tuesday evening, I think it was, they sent us in the direction, they chose to do a combined police station town hall on the existing Morgan Ave lot where the town hall sits currently. They charged us with getting as much of the programming into a building that will fit on that lot. It is substantially smaller than what the initial program, you know, dictated, so that starts September 14th. We've got our first meeting to move forward with that design. We are spending design dollars, so I'm glad we have a direction now, because we're already into it, probably $70,000-$80,000 in design.
So when was that meeting?
The selectmen,
No, you said that
September 14th.
the 14th will be the start of that.
And we meet at 7 AM as well.
Now, they made a decision yet on the financing going forward?
The board had to make a decision relatively quick because it's going to be on the state ballot. So we had to provide the language to them as of August 1st. So they had to decide to move forward with an override prior to August 1st. So that language has been submitted, bond council drafted it, and they had to draft it in a manner which was open enough to allow for whatever design the board chose. It, again, not really the normal way, but we kind of fell into difficult timelines, so.
So that's for the November vote?
Right.
And then there'll be a special town meeting too.
We have a special town meeting in October, so you'll see the bond authorization in October, and then the ballot election in November.
And we have the date for the special town meeting.
Yes.
23rd,
20.
Okay.
right? Isn't that what you told me? I thought.
It's the
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Yes, that was the 23rd.
23rd. I turned 75 on that day.
Oh, it's your birthday, that's how
Oh,
you
no, do
remember.
we have to bring a birthday cake?
No, I'm actually gonna be in Florida.
Oh.
So have fun at that meeting.
Co-chair.
Boy, I walked in, I'm one like.
Look at bad boy.
The amount they're talking about is somewhere in the, or have they,
We won't know the exact amount. The designers are gonna be working
okay.
relatively quickly. We have all the components, it's just putting it all together. Preliminary estimates, they had talked about, you know, what could we get for $8.5 million? Well, what if we did $8.5 million and we took out contingencies and we took out FF&E, so there'll be no furnishings, we'll just kind of cobble together everything we have, which is fine. So probably, you know, I would say 10, 12 million. Not an architect, just an accountant, but those are some of the numbers that have been thrown.
So an additional 5 or 6 million. It's double almost.
Yeah.
What's really unfair
That's where we
is
were.
that you have to, because of prevailing wage, in order to bid on it, you have to jack it up.
Oh, yeah.
And it makes it, you can't negotiate, because there's no negotiation when it's a municipal anything.
And
And
we're
it's so hard.
looking at 30% escalation.
I was gonna say, there's always
So,
overages on
which
these
is
things, so
huge.
you should always
Because
assume that.
there are, I'm sure there are a lot of people in town, contractors in town, that would be willing to give you a break. They can't, it's against the law,
Right.
which makes it nasty. I hate that.
Is there any contingency being discussed should the override fail?
Not yet.
What's it, do you
It's not
guys,
going to fail.
I was gonna say, you must know, get a general sense of what's the probability of success or fail on this. If you think you're gonna fail, then you kinda have to go to the selectmen and say, we gotta structure this. What's the point of going up?
It failed twice before it passed the last
Yeah.
time. They brought a combined public safety building, so it was a combined police fire station forward, passed town meeting overwhelmingly
Yep.
and failed at the ballot by
Yeah.
only 30 votes, so we,
Yeah,
you
it
know.
was-
You have a good,
It was really close.
Yeah.
And the lesson that we take from that, and should take, is that this needs to have a lot of education attached to it. It needs to get out there so that people understand what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Yep.
And that this, you know, the costs of all of the things that we've done for several of these overrides, saying, you know, debt is being expiring, we're putting more debt on, so the tax structure is minimally changed, but it is changed.
It's gonna change more now.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, it is gonna change more now. And the fact that this is one of the capital requirements, that we need, and we've enjoyed low tax rates, really low tax rates for a long time.
yeah, we're at 1098, right? I think it's 10,
I think
I
you're
looked
right.
at it.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
yeah, cause I looked at the distribution of tax rates over the state, just today, just trying to, I think we are one of the lowest.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about it, by the way.
No, nobody complains
Nobody
about low
complains.
taxes. People complain about low services, everything else,
Sure.
and the two are entirely divorced.
But they
Right.
don't see that you pay a low tax and you have to put up with low services. And they don't get that, they haven't figured that out.
So that's one of the things that we have to talk about
Is
more,
one-
because when we had a good presentation at the, that was the annual town meeting.
Yes.
We got 80% approval rate,
Right.
okay? So when people understand it,
Mhm.
they'll vote for it. But the, where we fell down, in my opinion, was we did not educate people, we didn't get out and tell people what this was all about and why it was a good idea.
And you have a very short window to do that.
Yeah.
This one is, in my
We get
opinion,
you.
too short.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
short.
And the architect will be making the presentations from here on.
It's in there.
Do they have like a one pager that you can put together? Like, I will tell you that I go into the mini mart, that's
Mhm.
just happens to be my local store, right, yours as well, I'm assuming. So when you go in there, put a pamphlet of one pagers, people go in there to get whatever they
Grab
need,
it.
no, they grab it to look at.
Yep.
Right.
You gotta find a way to create distribution.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Sure.
one pagers, and probably we should do, a YouTube video as well. YouTube presentation,
Yeah.
and something that can be put up on the town website.
Yep. Yep.
Leveraging the network that's been built over the Triton,
Yeah.
Yep.
information as well.
Yep. I think that's the whole key is educating people, to make them understand what it is that is needed. And you're gonna vote for it and suck it up, buttercup, you're gonna pay for it.
Well, it's,
You know, when years ago, when I'd go down to get the key from the police department, and the dispatcher would be standing there batting sewer flies. Come on, these people are putting up with sewer flies? No, that's not right. We gotta get those people, those good people out of there and make it better. It's just not right.
no, we've coasted along. As
We
you know,
have.
We've coasted
Coasted,
a long time
slid.
on our, the capital infrastructure.
Yeah.
Which is long overdue.
What is the increase, you think? The reason why I ask is Amesbury's at 13, I think it's $13.90, close to $14 on a tax rate.
Oh, yeah.
And if you take a tax rate, let's just assume 1098, you go close to the 1398. You know, you're just, if I'm a taxpayer, I'm like, okay, well, 1398 in a city that has Stop and Shop, all this stuff. There's nothing here.
Right.
So to bring me closer to what a tax rate of a city is, then at what point do you have to start providing me with service? Or, you know, it's just a field, you're managing
right.
field,
No,
that's all you're doing.
You know,
Right.
you're
Right.
exactly right.
Yep.
And when we're in the master plan, one of the things we're looking at, some of the things we're looking at, is in order to get that sort of service in the town, in order to build the town so that new people can come in, young people can come in and afford a place, people can afford to age in place on a smaller spot, we need to have other municipal services, and one of the big ones is sewer. Okay? It's the only way we can get a population or population pockets into the town because of the soils we have. That's why we have this 1 acre zoning. If you could have a sewer system or an area that has sewer systems, as we do have in the northeast corner of the town, then you could have smaller homes on smaller lots and people would be fine. You could have light industry, or you could have a shopping center, you could have a Stop and Shop or Market Basket or whatever would
Right.
come in here. But without those two, we are dead in the water. And we've been, I think the first time we looked at this was a task force that Vince Russo had put together when he was selected. And I sat on that one too.
Sure.
But,
Is that
this has been a long, long time
Yeah.
Right.
trying to get this,
Right.
some of these ideas through the works. And you know, without those changes, and we had some very, very talented people. What do we have? We have bird watching. Hey,
It's true.
it brings people in. Not a lot of people, not a lot of money,
Yeah.
but, you know, and then the culture, you know, the rural character of the town is people are paying more and more for that.
Yep.
Because it is more and more expensive. And we are, as an area, aging, as a town aging. It's a significant impediment to us in New England, because you look at the graying of our population. Yeah, I mean, Gene and I are cases in point. It's
I'm the case.
yeah. All right, hey, Casey.
How's that a little levity? You're getting very serious,
He
Mark.
really
Sorry.
was, way too serious. Now you got him blushing.
One thing I would say is, from an aging population from our town, I'm an outsider, right? I'm new to the board and all this, but I will say this, is that I don't know how septic, you're right, when you put sewer and all this stuff, and I guess the question is, what do we want our town to be? What does the town want us to
That
be?
is-
What is our identity?
That
Right.
is the whole point of the master
Right.
plan. And-
Yeah, because
and
I can
that
tell, from my perspective, and I think from being in town a long time, I don't know if people really want to be that town, and I'm speaking from a,
Sure.
you know, from our side, or do we want to be the Stop and Shop and or whatever it may be? Or do you want, you know, are there ways to create, how do you bring young people in? I can tell you, my wife grew up in Dorchester, she moved out here. Yeah, now she's here and she's like, we don't have sidewalks. So I go to Topsfield and I go through Boxford and I see sidewalks, something as simple as a sidewalk. What that does though is it creates you to bring your kids and ride their bikes down to town. And when he's riding his bike, he goes by my house and we say hello and you create community. Right now, I will tell you, we don't have old Byfield is different, right? We still have our, you know,
Right.
drive-by, people come over the house and all this other stuff. But really, to create a sense of community, you have to get people out. Something as simple as a sidewalk from Great Rock, it's start one,
Yeah.
down to here, and you create a sense of community, the fields, the sidewalks, you gotta get people out and walking and make families want to be here. Right now, you have a community that is completely separated. You have Upper Green, you have Lower Green, you have Byfield. There's nothing that pulls it all together, and you need these senses of community. I hear if we talk about septic systems and moving to sewer, you're creating an environment of, do we want to be a community of, as a smaller community that's somehow generating money through different ways, or do we want to be a city? Are we moving towards a kind of like a Linfield? Eventually, we will become that if we. But Linfield was probably very different from back in the day, and yeah, there you go. So, how do we want to structure for not for today, but for tomorrow? Because that's really what we're developing.
Well, this is the entire reason to have a master plan, because when we sit down here in both capital planning and in FinCom, and we say, what are we doing here? We had this question.
Sure.
And what we're doing here is we are here to effectuate the master plan. We got quite a few things done on the master plan the last time around. But these are questions that come up, and this is where the town gets to weigh in on, what do we want here?
Yeah.
What is it gonna be here, and what's going to happen? I have to tell you, I read some of the studies of what happens if we get too expensive. And it's killed a lot of towns in northern New England because they haven't been able to keep young people. They're just not affordable. And so this is some studies that I was referring to that we have business in New Hampshire. This came out in New Hampshire is looking at what has happened, and so we just have to be aware of that.
Yeah. I almost want to feel like you have to model yourself, look around the state, and really pick who were through transitions. Every town through Massachusetts has transitioned over time, right? Like if you going back to Linfield. Linfield is a much different place, right? They have Linfield Marketplace and all this stuff.
Right.
How do we want to navigate from here to there and really structure it around that? Because
Or not.
Yeah, because you can bring families in, right? Look, I work with a lot of people that have families, and they move to Winchester, Wellesley, Linfield. They pick certain communities.
Schools are a big factor.
Schools are a big factor.
Huge
factor. If you're going to come to Newbury,
It's
you're
the
going to
biggest
come
when
to
it
the
comes to
school.
families.
And I'll pay more money if I'm getting a better school. I have a friend in the town that said, hey, we moved here because this reminded us of Western Mass, and now, at some point, do I make a decision that I want to leave and go to Hamilton, Wenham? Pay a higher tax rate, but I'm going to get a better school system. That's a fact.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And you hit the nail on the head with the tax rate.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay, no, I'm glad, I'm sitting here looking, while you're all talking, I'm sitting here looking at that picture of the green, with all the houses around it. Community.
Yeah.
Who's spearheading this? Is it are the architects doing the driving of this, or who's driving?
Open space or
No,
Oh.
the project.
the building project?
Because
What do you mean?
I
who's
mean, we've got
driving?
there's one
The
month,
committee.
school committee,
The building committee.
building committee, all right,
Mhm.
so they're bailiwick at this point, along with
Yep.
the selectmen,
Yeah,
obviously.
well, they just got their charge Tuesday night, so.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
so,
Right. You had
Thank you.
also, we were unfortunate enough to have a judgment against the town
oh, yes.
in a recent court case. That it cost $537,
$37,000.
$537,588.52. You had before you, earlier in the summer, a reserve fund transfer for
Right.
$98,000. You also had before you year-end transfers that totaled $245,021. So basically, right now, We had to pay the legal settlement, obviously.
Yeah.
So we have a deficit which has to be raised on our recap sheet of $194,567. We are in a position to be able to fund it because we've got excess levy capacity, so we didn't spend the full amount that we were able to spend under the confines of Proposition 2.5.
So excess levy will cover that.
Excess levy will cover that.
Okay.
So, and then that would be
So
behind
will
us.
that will
Yeah.
impact tax rate some?
Not in excess
No.
of what, the
Right,
2.5.
no, I understand.
but
It's
yeah.
still under the levy.
Yep, so, in terms of financial reports, you do have, I know you didn't have any time to review it, but, overall, we ended the year on a very positive note. Our revenues came in higher than anticipated, a little over 500,000 higher. Keep buying those new cars, everybody. That's wonderful.
I like that too.
Oh, yes. We don't buy Audis and Porsches.
You're right, Hondas, they're better.
Hondas are fine.
They're better.
Yeah,
What was just for the fun of it, I'm looking at, where is, fines are up too. But I was looking for the,
Where you gonna buy?
motor vehicle excise, what's up?
We're up in the
Oh, yeah, that was up a couple $100,000.
Yep.
Okay.
And, the flip side, the expenditure side, we ended up closing out about 261,000, or we will close out, we're in the process of closing out the fiscal year now. So a little over $261,000, so that will, both of those will close and become a component of,
Free cash.
our free cash calculation.
So that's
So we'll
about
be working
700
on that. Yeah, it's not that easy, but.
I know,
yeah.
I know.
That's
it
not,
isn't.
there's
I
a lot
know
of
it
other
isn't.
things that go
I
into it.
know, but I'm just,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll be in a
And
positive
that
situation.
free cash includes whatever that figure is, plus whatever the balance was in free cash year end.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's about it.
Okay. In the warrants for fall town meeting, we don't have, other than,
We actually weren't really planning on having a fall town meeting, until this
that's
little
why I was going
project
away.
issue,
No.
popped up, so, things that we would normally take care of at fiscal year ends through, year-end transfers will likely, you'll see appearing on the, fall town meeting, so.
Like
Okay.
the unpaid bills,
Yeah. Anything like that.
plus the override question.
Right.
Okay.
We had some changes to the personnel bylaw, it's not additional benefits, it's just cleaning it up, making it more relevant, things like that.
Okay. Any other business that we may have, anyone has on their minds? Okay, I know you're in a hurry to get out, and that's why you're.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
It's dark now.
Now, I listed our schedule of meetings for the next few months, based on a couple of assumptions. One is that we want to continue meeting on the first Tuesday of the month, and that we would not have a December meeting. After I listed all of those, I discovered I have a conflict on every single night. However,
Good job, Gene.
Co-chair.
Oh, man.
but we
Wait a
should
minute,
have a
that means that he
discussion.
can't go away.
I mean, it is the we have been meeting on the first Tuesday. We didn't always meet on the first Tuesday. We've met
Yeah.
on
Right,
Wednesdays, we've met on,
Wednesdays.
so I think it should be determined pretty much, we don't have to stick with that.
We had, the only
Are there better times or not? You know,
problem is
the thing-
meeting space.
The thing with Tuesday is the town is open until 7 for one thing.
Right,
And Jen is here already.
poor baby.
I mean, I can navigate a couple of these changes if I need to be here. but I can't, the town meeting, I will not be, I was positive.
I think you should get a flight back home again.
Earlier,
That's not hard to do.
you mean
I could do
earlier in the day?
6,
6
but,
o'clock.
yeah, it's, for me, it's
Well,
coming
no.
from Boston.
I'd be able to feed Bucky and, you know, take her coffee.
The 2 Tuesdays that I have a conflict is theater, we had theater tickets, which I can probably change on both of those. But, so I could do that, I'm not, you know, but I can't be here for this, a special town meeting, that's too far away. So, but do we wanna stick with the Tuesdays, if that works for everybody?
Works for me.
Is Tuesday,
It's up to you guys.
yeah. Tuesday's
Tuesday's
good.
fine.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it, just my conflict at this point, so.
As long as they don't have customers there.
You know, you're gonna speak to your scheduler.
Yeah, I think so.
Would you like to be a,
He might be able to negotiate.
would you like to?
Those co-chair responsibilities really extend.
And one of the things, we often have a conflict in meeting space, so we need to get our, plug us in,
For these dates?
yep.
Okay, I will do so.
Can I see? You know,
So we'll get
Show
first
the room
dibs.
is reserved.
What, it is reserved?
No, we've gotta make sure we
Yeah.
That's
reserve the
what I'm-
room, it's
yeah.
cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so if we
I mean,
say be
this is-
cozy, can we get there?
Yes, yes.
We, to be honest, we couldn't all fit in the kitchen.
No.
Well, you went down to the kitchen, where you had,
Yes.
I
We've
think
met-
we've had
so
to meet
much
in
of this
there.
life.
and
No, that's true.
Tracy came up with a brilliant idea, why not put tables in the hall and meet out here?
Well, there's, I
See,
mean, there's no
works.
out here, it's not,
So-
it may not be the best thing in the
Yeah.
world, but.
Is it likely that we'd be meeting between 10:02 and 10:23 to prepare for?
That's a good question.
It's possible.
It's possible. We're not gonna have the, at least I'm not in position to put together all that stuff.
We don't have anything to put together.
What do we
Right
do?
now.
What, I mean, we don't even know.
You
So-
don't usually do much for the fall anymore.
Impact on
No.
town meeting, impact on taxes is what people wanna know. That's the bottom line. How much of my tax is gonna go up when we add 6, whatever it is? And that we can probably do, have the
We're
bond
working
council
on,
run a spreadsheet and, you know,
Well, we've
for
got
the
the
average
spreadsheet, but
home.
Then we've gotta do the presentation that is not a spreadsheet.
Oh, no, I know that, but, yeah,
And
but at
we
least we'll
have-
have the numbers.
we have the last
Always
one,
about
we could follow that model of the last presentation. we
Yeah,
did.
yeah. We could maybe hire it out to Erica to make it pretty.
I did see her the other night. She said she was feeling wistful when she got the.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, we
But
missed
not
it.
enough to come.
And, so I'm still working on something for, the past group to get together before, so we can kind of say goodbyes.
Thank you.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're working on a couple of things. But, all right, we're all set, I guess. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All right. All those in favor?